Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm now recording.
Hi, Jordan. How are you doing?
Absolutely wonderful. Looks like things are starting to turn around for me.
That's good
One,
to hear.
one, I have gotten myself a I've gotten myself a test score job which will last from April to June. Two, I've uh I've secured my it looks like I'm gonna cheer on my Auburn Tigers to go all the way in the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Okay, that's good.
Yep. And three, we've got someone here who knows a lot about a Goofy movie. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
That would be me. I'm Kevin Lima, the director of a Goofy movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the director.
Yep, I am.
That
I
is
was the
so cool.
director. It happened 30 years ago.
Wow.
That's why he's here. The 30th anniversary of a Goofy movie.
Yep,
Wow.
on Monday.
Exactly.
That's so cool. That is
And
so
on
cool.
that same day, did you guys know, on that very same day on Disney Plus, they're releasing a documentary about a Goofy movie.
Really? That's awesome.
Yep, yep. It's pretty good. I've seen it.
Okay. Um, uh, Second question. Comp- can you explain to us how you're a different kind of director compared with visionaries like Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan?
That's a big question, Jordan. Um, well, I started in animation, so I drew before I was a director. So I'm used to taking a white piece of paper and turning it into something, turning it into a movie in the case of a Goofy movie. So I think that's what makes me different from them is that
Oh,
I draw, right? So I can
yeah.
actually draw the entire movie before I make it.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And contrary to some of the direct to video sequels such as Aladdin 2 Return of Jafar, which Disney did make before a Goofy
Right.
movie.
I did.
Why do people love a Goofy movie?
Well, you can probably answer that question just as well as I can.
I
Um,
guess I guess somehow there's a unique connection in being able to see a father and a son unite and bond together on a journey across this absolutely great country of ours.
yeah, I think it has everything to do with that story, right? Is that everybody is a child, right? So you have a relationship with parents, and some of us become parents, right? And we have
Yeah.
children. And so that circle goes around and around and around. And
Yeah.
a lot of the a lot of the kids that watched this movie back in 1995 are now parents, and they're sharing it with their kids. And so it just keeps going and going.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the meat of the whole story. So, how did you start in
Right.
animation? How did Goofy get his own movie and it became a classic?
We could talk about this for an hour. I
Ooh,
started drawing when I was a little kid. I can't even remember. I can't remember a time when I didn't draw. And I went to go see the Jungle Book, when I was a kid in the movie theater. First time it was released. And my mother says, I don't remember this, but my mother says that she said, these are the people who made the movie when the credits came on. And I said to her, I'm going to make this movie when I grow up. I think I was like 5 years old. I must have been five because The Jungle Book came out in 1967. And so I've always drawn and I've always had art in my life. And I became a puppeteer for a bit. I started making my own puppets when I was a kid. And I did shows and I became a puppeteer with a professional company. I grew up in Rhode Island and there was a professional puppetry company there called the Puppet Workshop that I was a part of. And I started writing and producing and performing and directing with that group. And then I went to school and I went to Cal Arts. I think a lot of people probably that you've talked to have gone to Cal Arts. I think I saw Gary Trousdale on your show and he went to Cal Arts. And for animation. And then when I got out of school, I applied to Disney, but they weren't hiring at the time because they had just released a movie called The Black Cauldron, which didn't make very much money at all. So they weren't hiring. So I went off and did some other things. And I made a movie. I worked on a movie called The Brave Little Toaster.
Oh yeah.
You know that one?
I
Yeah,
love
I
that
talked
movie.
with the director Jerry Rees one
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yeah. I worked for Jerry. I was a character designer and an animator, and I traveled to Taiwan with Jerry. And then I worked on something called the Chipmunk Adventure. So I worked on that, and I got to work with Glenn Keane, if you know that name. Glenn Keane's a
Oh
legend
yeah, I know that
animator.
name.
And he said, "Hey, why don't you come over to Disney? I'm going to go back." And so I applied, and I got in, and I just started working on a whole bunch of movies there. Let's see, I was a character designer on The Little Mermaid. I designed all the under the sea characters and the Kiss the Girl characters. I did a lot of work on Ursula in the very beginning and a lot of work on Flounder.
For
And
the
then,
little puppy.
yep. And then I moved on to, let's see, what was next? The Rescuers Down Under. And I was a character designer on that.
Oh.
Then I was a character designer on Beauty and the Beast. Just did a lot of work on the objects, those three main objects. And then I became a story artist. I was moving around a bit. Oh, I missed something way back then. After I did character design on The Little Mermaid, I animated on Oliver and Company.
That was a year before Little Mermaid came
It
out.
was, but I worked on it opposite. So I worked on character design early, then I went and animated on Oliver and Company, and then I went on to Beauty and the Beast. So it was a little bit out of order as far as releases were concerned.
Oh man.
And then I was a storyboard artist on Aladdin. And at that point, I said, "Hey, I'd really like to be a director." And they said, "I'm sorry." Disney said, "I'm sorry, there's no room here. We have the next 7 years planned." So I left to try to find a directing job. And I worked at a place called Hyperion Studios. Have you ever heard of that? They did
Mm.
television shows like The Itsy Bitsy Spider, and they did a movie called Bebe's Kids. Um, and then Disney called and asked me if I wanted to direct a Goofy movie. And that's what brought me to that film. They had already started it. They had a script, and I just started working with that script and developing the movie from there. And it changed a lot from that very first script to what it finally is. So that's how I got involved in the movie.
Okay. Um uh
That's a lot, right? That's a whole career.
I that's of course leading up to a Goofy movie. That's how you get started in animation. The next question would be how Goofy suddenly gets his own movie in the first place because you could have just given it to Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, but
Right.
now you just give it to Goofy.
Yeah, they had already decided they wanted to make a Goofy movie because they had already made the Goof Troop television show, if you remember that TV show.
One, two,
Max was a much younger boy in that television show, and they wanted to do a movie. So we took that next step with the character. I think Goofy was maybe a little bit easier for them to adapt. I think Mickey is challenging because he's basically a corporate symbol, an icon for the company.
Yeah.
So he has to be perfect. Um, and Goofy, because he has some flaws, made for a better subject for a feature film. And they had already made the DuckTales movie before a Goofy movie. So they already had explored that whole world of ducks. So I think Donald wasn't really sort of in line for them. They didn't want to jump into a Donald Duck movie.
Oh, oh man.
That's how it happened.
Well, I did hear a little unique story about how Jeff, how there was like a little Jeffrey Katzenberg, the studio head at the time, wanted to do like a road trip or something with his daughter, and it wasn't exactly working out. So he thought that would make a good story for a script, and he decided to give it to Goofy. What did what were some of the unique changes that were that would end up being made in the during the making of a Goofy movie?
Well, one of the big things we did is we knew we had to make a movie that would last, 75, 80 minutes. So we had to think of a way to be able to create drama for the character. So as we were working on the film, it started out very, very gag heavy, lots and lots of gags and mishaps and, you know, clumsy, sort of flopping about. And we decided as we went on that the movie needed to have an emotional heart. And as we got more and more into that story of the father and the son, some, not all, of the goofiness of the character kind of faded away. And we found ourselves discovering a new Goofy for the 1990s because Goofy's changed a lot throughout his history. If you look at each iteration of the character, it's different. So we figured out how we could hold on to the old Goofy and bring him into the 90s and tell a very emotional story.
Oh, that's it's great to hear. It's
And you're right, Jeffrey did go on a road trip with his daughter, and it was terrible. And he decided that it might be a good idea for Goofy when they were tossing around ideas at the very, very beginning.
I'm going to the trailer that I ended up that for the Not Just a Goof documentary. You pretty much the gang over at the Disney people, they felt like they wanted to make a John Hughes contemporary teenager film, and I know who John Hughes is.
Yeah,
16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink,
yeah,
the vacation movies, and
right,
Home Alone.
right, right. We kind of thought a couple of things. One, we didn't have as much money as feature animation had to make a movie. We had a lot less money. So we had to think about that. The other thing is that they made a lot of they make a lot of fairy tales and, big scope, animal movies. And we thought, let's make something contemporary. Let's make something that feels like the way we live. Um, and so the world of the, Goof Troop felt like it could support that because it felt like a contemporary world. So we just said, hey, you know, nobody's making movies that speak to what kids are really going through in their day to day. So let's try to make a movie like that. Let's see if we can, show high school, what it's like to be in high school, what it feels like to be a teenager, what it feels like to think that your dad is a goof. Let's lean into those sort of real world um, ideas and go on a road trip, right? A lot of families did that or do that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I never exactly pulled off a cross country road trip, but I have done a road trip from Georgia to Indiana to visit my who was about to become my brother-in-law, and then I
All
went
right.
back, and it was a great time, and
How many days were you on the road?
8 hours, I
8 hours one day.
oh man.
That's fun.
Oh yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this this is a completely different setup where if you didn't have a lot of money, then how the heck will you suddenly gonna get a movie? I don't know. It's just you
Well,
probably had to say
it's
what?
not like we had no money. We did have some money.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the same kind of budgets that feature animation had at the time.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out a different way to do it. And one of the ways is that we made it around the world.
Yeah.
So we made it in Paris, in Australia, Toronto, Spain, a little bit of work in Burbank, California. So it got touched by a lot of different people because those animation studios were just starting out in 1995. So they were very, very interested in working for Disney. So we could actually make the movies a little bit cheaper that way.
Oh wow. That is something great. So
Yeah.
uh
So
so
you'll see in the documentary, Jordan, that I had to communicate with those people all around the world. And I don't speak any of those language. I speak French. It's a teeny tiny bit from high school. So I had to make like videotapes and we mailed them around the world of me directing the animation so that they could look at my face and look at the way I was, holding myself to get a sense of what the physical acting of the characters would be.
oh and you spoke English.
I I still do.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're not I'm not really the world's greatest at foreign languages either. And
Yeah, they're hard.
of course, so continuing on, um a lot of people end up putting putting Powerline on their merchandise, but
Right.
then sometimes have to even one time at North Metro Church I saw a guy with a Powerline t-shirt. Question is, where does something like this, where does an idea like this come from? Because we get two brilliant songs out of it. I failed to record the first attempt at singing this song, so I could just obviously sing it again. That's pretty easy peasy for me.
I'm looking forward to that. Do you want to do it now or do you want to wait till the end?
To probably usually what I was doing was combine the opening and the ending of the song in one go to
Right.
short gig, and I want to know where Powerline came from.
Well, we had to, we had to give Max something that he wanted that's different than what his dad wanted. It had to exist in a place across the country because they were going on a cross country trip. So we just decided because we were also a musical that it might be interesting if he wanted to go see a concert. And so we took that idea, and at the time, there were some pretty popular pop singers that you're going to know, Michael Jackson,
Oh
Bobby
yeah.
Brown, and Prince. They were very, very popular at the time. So we just sort of said, hey, what if we made a conglomeration of those three men, those three singers, and created our own 1990s pop star? Um, and so that's what we did. And the way it worked out is we originally asked Prince to sing the songs, and he said no. So, so luckily, we got his prodigy, who was Tevin Campbell. And Tevin had recorded with Prince, and we were going to use Prince's music producer. And the music producer, David Z, knew Tevin and asked Tevin if he'd do it. I think Tevin was only 17 years old when he sang these songs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now that's incredible.
Yeah. In the documentary, you'll see there's a great sequence in which we break down the whole Eye to Eye song. And you get to see Tevin singing in the booth, get to see the choreography that we had. We shot like actors or dancers doing the choreography, and we used that. So they put together this really great sequence that cuts between all of those elements.
Yeah. So so given I haven't really watched this movie in full since I got since we got like a VHS for free at the library,
That's
and
a long time ago.
yeah, and then we kind of returned the VHS to the library. It's just a
Right.
free thing. It was just like our own little personal video store place. I'm pretty sure a lot of the people my age might remember Blockbuster and stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
it's not like
you
we
took your movies out of the library. You went to the library and checked them out.
uh mom and there was a dedicated children's section, and we it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
So
to see another movie a different movie every week that way, I bet.
or something like that, but sometimes it was like multiple library borrowings and stuff, but I obviously you can get the picture. So
Did you watch the movie when you took a movie out of the library? Did you watch it over and over and over again for 2 weeks
um
or just once?
sometimes once, but for my sis sometimes once, but if we owned it and my sister happened to and my sister happened to be in the room,
Yeah.
she would watch it over and over and over again. Yeah. So
Uh,
uh so continuing on, how did this suddenly get a theatrical release, even if some people might think, oh, it's a direct to video, but no, it's a theatrical release.
yeah, I think they were trying at the time to Disney was trying to figure out how to make cheaper theatrical releases. And we were a big experiment to see if anybody would actually go to the theater to see something that had started on television, the Goof Troop show. So we were always meant to be a theatrical release, which meant they spent a little bit more money on us. Um, and yeah, so it did. It got a release in 1995 and didn't do very well at all.
Oh.
Not a success. And in fact, the critics didn't like it much either.
Ooh.
And it's interesting that over the years, it has totally exploded. It is probably the most talked about movie that I've directed. This film is one that just keeps getting, you know, especially on social media. I think all the kids who watched it when they were kids suddenly were on social media, and it became one of the things they talked about. They talked about their favorite movies. And so this thing just got a life of its own. But it originally didn't make much money. The critics didn't like it. And so they released it on VHS tape. And on VHS tape, it just went through the roof. They sold so many VHS tapes. It's kind of
Oh.
crazy.
Uh, Most likely you would buy stuff like that at Walmart and stuff, and that's where you ended up buying it, and then when you bought it out of Walmart, you would probably pop into a VCR and watch that wonder unfold, and that's how it was with a lot of my early movie experiences before everyone just suddenly switched over from to DVD and then to a little bit like a phase of Blu-ray and then to Netflix, and
Yeah.
now it's on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is where I watched it last night
Oh, wow.
just to prepare for this particular meeting, and
And you remembered all the lyrics to Stand Out because you just watched it last night? Or did you listen to the CD or something?
I listened to the songs on YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
So so despite what was going on with the with what happened with a Goofy movie, not with its initial theatrical run, but the fact that it sold like gangbusters on VHS, did that give you a better chance at a directing career somehow?
Well, there was a, right before the movie was released, there was an executive at the studio named Jeffrey Katzenberg. You know
Oh,
that name?
yeah, he
Yeah.
went to DreamWorks.
He formed DreamWorks, yeah. And while I was finishing a Goofy movie, he gave me the book Tarzan. And he said, this is going to be your next movie. And so I read the book and I loved it. It was as close to the Jungle Book as I was ever going to get. And when I was 5, I said, I'm going to make that movie. And so I loved it. The only issue was that he wanted to make it with a first-time crew who had never made an animated movie before. And I said, I was worried because we could barely animate Goofy with a first-time crew. How are we going to animate a naked man? It's one of the hardest things to do. It's really, really hard, anatomy. And so, but we never got to that point because Jeffrey was let go from the company. He was fired. And Michael Eisner, who is the very head of the studio, decided that he was, and I don't know why, he could have been trying to get back at Jeffrey, but he said, we're going to make Tarzan at feature animation. So, and we'd like you to stay and do it, because he also knew that Jeffrey was talking to me about going over to DreamWorks Animation. They wanted me to stay. And I just loved the book. And I said, Jeffrey, you gave me this book. I'm absolutely in love with it. I have to go make it. And he said, I understand.
So that in turn leads you to direct the movie that made me go from Who's Tarzan to Whoa, Tarzan's totally radical, man. And that was the tail end of the 90s.
That was released in 1999.
Yeah.
It's considered the last 2D animated film of the Disney Renaissance, the period they call the Renaissance.
Oh,
from The Little Mermaid to Tarzan. So I slipped right in. I slipped right in at the very end.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And turns out, according to IMDb, suddenly you ended up going into live action, but you start out with animation, then you go to live action.
Yeah, I get bored very, very easy. So you see, in the beginning of my career, I was like I drew, I was a puppeteer, I was a character designer, then an animator, then a storyboard artist. I had a hard time sitting at my desk for 8 hours a day. And then I was doing things like I was directing plays at night and some musical theater, my free time. And so I just decided it was the next thing I wanted to do. I had been approached by an agent and they said, hey, have you ever thought about being a live action director? We think you have what it takes. And then Glenn Close, she played Cruella de Vil in the live action Dalmatian movies.
Yeah.
She was Kala the ape in Tarzan. And she said to me, you direct much more like a live action director than an animation director. She had worked with both. And said, have you ever thought about going into live action? And I, of course, said, yes, I would love to do that. And then they lost their director on 102 Dalmatians, and she suggested me. Wow. And so that's how I got that opportunity.
Wow, that's and you went all the way over to 100% European spots, but this is like before all that, but before some of the craziness that's been I don't know. I don't know if you know about this, but there are these things called tax incentives that enable producers to produce things much more cheaply in other countries.
They still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get 40% of your money back with some tax incentives. So it only makes sense that studios and producers want to have a bigger movie, right? So they grab a hold of that money. I'm sure there was a tax incentive when I made 102 Dalmatians, but it also took place in London, so it made sense to go there.
Oh yeah.
All the actors were there, all the locations were there. It just made perfect sense. So,
And it looks like we got another one of your little movies that's got a poster on there. It's called Enchanted 2007.
oh, to that little movie.
That's the one where Princess Giselle, played by Amy Adams, finds her happily ever after in a place where there ain't supposed to be any, much to the Queen's chagrin.
True, true. So that movie was interesting for me because it combined animation and live action. So I got to deal with the two things I love. And so what was also interesting to me about it is that some of the characters start as animated characters, and then they transition into the real world and become real people.
Yeah.
And Amy's character, Giselle, goes on a journey of discovery to what it is, what is the true meaning of love.
Ooh.
And so that was really interesting for me to work with an actor that started out like a princess, pinkies up, all sweet and you know singing in one of those higher falsettos to becoming a real woman. And so throughout the movie, if you watch that movie, you can see Amy transition. Her hands are no longer up like this at a certain point, and she starts to change the way she dresses and the way she walks. She sings in the beginning of the movie, and at the end of the movie, she doesn't sing. She's just dancing to music that's playing on the radio or, on a record player.
I mean,
So,
I have seen that particular film and in the theater when it came
oh wow,
out,
oh wow.
and and I didn't exactly know this. I guess it was just a passing reference. So I didn't really know this firsthand at the time, but turns out uh, turns out when we first meet Patrick Dempsey's character, his clients are all arguing over about a Hank Aaron baseball card. Now, the reason why that's important is because I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. Go Bravos! Uh, Root for the Bravos. Hank Aaron, 715 home runs, breaking Babe Ruth's home run record, 755 home runs until this guy who drinks steroids for breakfast ends up being his record, Barry
Just
Bonds.
happened not too long ago, right?
Yeah, not too long ago, but around the time your Enchanted movie came out.
Oh, okay.
So this was obviously a rough recap of your career. I don't know why Sarah didn't make it tonight, but I'm
She
glad
missed out.
I'm glad that I'm recording this so that she can hear me go. She go like open up your eyes, take a look at me. Get the picture, babe, streaming memories. I'm dreaming about the rhythm of the beat of my heart. And I won't stop until I start to stand out. Stand out. The people settle for the typical thing, waiting all their lives, waiting in the wings. It ain't a question of if, just a matter of time before I move to the front of the line. And watching every move that I make. You gotta believe that I got what it takes to stand out above the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud. Tomorrow's the only face you'll see. I'm gonna stand out, yeah, stand out. Woo, hoo, 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 stand out. Ooh, tomorrow's the only face you'll see. I'm gonna stand out till you notice me.
That's amazing. I don't even think I could do that, Jordan, to be quite honest with you.
That's
Oh,
awesome. That's
well,
awesome,
I
Jordan.
can do it, but obviously I can't do it as well as Kevin Campbell did, and I'm not as visionary as a legend as Prince was, because well, my only real experience with that was well, going to a friend's house, watching the Super Bowl 2007, and seeing that aforementioned artist perform six songs for the halftime show, Purple Rain, In the Rain, and being that absolutely amazing artist that gives off some of those legendary vibes. And that's probably my unique first experience with Prince. And for me, I would probably say that I continued, well, at least a lot of people continue to enjoy it, because even with the hot one, even in an episode of First We Feast, but which I'm friends with, like, Eric Goldberg. He gave me like a tour of the Disney Animation Studio back in this 3 years ago in 2022, and he recently animated on a segment, First We Feast, where Donald Duck is trying some of those cauliflower wings to try to get a couple of stuff to try to talk about his career and such. But turns out one of the hot sauces he's been getting is a Powerline hot sauce.
It is.
Oh yeah. I love the
And I have right here, let me show you. I don't know if they have these at the parks now. Powerline. And this is like a sour candy, and they sell these at the park now.
That's
I,
awesome.
that's where I got this shirt.
Yeah.
I wore this shirt for the sake of this meeting. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to represent, because I'm talking to the guy who absolutely made a classic, and I can't really wait to find out more. And things are
You're gonna find out a lot more if you watch the documentary.
I guess I was just wanting to give you a like a rough rough estimate of how your career has how your career went throughout a space of an hour, mainly because I maybe because I know you're probably gonna cover more ground in this documentary, and
Yeah,
I didn't
you'll
think
learn a
you.
lot more about a Goofy movie. You know,
Oh
90
yeah,
90 minutes of behind the scenes.
wow.
Yeah.
And I'm just I'm just so glad you can contribute to so much to the childhood of me, and that you can also contribute so much to the childhood of whom I believe is my newborn nephew, who is coming through the door with his proud parents, my brother and my sister-in-law, and my and his aunt, my sister, and his grandparents, mom and dad too. So say I'm gonna say hi to them for you, and
Okay.
well,
Please do. Please do.
I'm going
And
I'm
share
gonna
your love of movies with your new nephew.
oh yeah, and I'm going to I'm gonna meet Hannah tomorrow at a family reunion. So thank you so much for this very pleasant time, and I covered some of the unique basics. So I honestly believe you were going for Vacation 1983, where they were going to Wally World.
There may have been a little bit of influence, yes.
Yep, Vacation 1983, and Bigfoot. Oh, my dad is a big fan of Bigfoot.
Is he? Is he?
Yep, he is.
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool.
So
All
thank you
right.
so much.
You're welcome, Jordan.
I'll happy 30th anniversary to a Goofy movie, and I'll talk to you when I believe Enchanted gets its 20th anniversary in 2027.
2 years away.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty. See you,
Thank
George.
you. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
You're
bye.
welcome. Bye-bye, Buffy.
Bye. It was great to meet
Your name is
you.
Hannah.
Anna, it says Buffy.
I know.
Hannah, cousin Hannah.
Hannah's my first name, but I go by Buffy as like a nickname usually. That's why there's a disparity.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. It's good talking to you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Bye-bye
Bye.
now.
That was so cool, Jordan. I had no idea that you were gonna bring on the director. I thought you were just gonna bring on someone who like knew about the movie. So that was a cool surprise.
Well, I've been planning for this for a long time, and I wanted to please you.
That was awesome. That was a big surprise. That was so cool. And he was so nice too. What a great thing.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Of course,
Yay. Oh,
yeah.
and Brian is coming too. So Brian will be here with me.
Ryan will be. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, in
Okay.
person. In person,
Yes,
my friend. I'm
in
in. I'm at
person.
Airbnb in Alabama, Lincoln, Alabama.
Oh wow. Well, welcome to Alabama. It's hot here. It's so
I
hot.
realize that. That's why I'm wearing shorts.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I have to wear pants for work and I'm like, oh, I'm so hot.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Jordan. Have a
All
great
right. Bye.
day. Bye.